Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Pop Go the Writers.
Was it like a Bela Lugosi, maybe,
There
or
was a
just
little Bela Lugosi, and there's a little Masterpiece Theater. It's kind of in between
okay?
the two. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Hey,
um,
Harry.
so how's everybody doing today? It is San Diego.
Yay!
Oh, hey, Harry. It is San Diego Con weekend, and unlike normal San Diego Con weekends, we do not have a ton of giant announcements to cover.
I don't think there are any giant announcements, is there?
Closest thing would be two spin-off series for Walking Dead,
Hmm.
the Michonne and Rick one,
Hmm. But we
and
already knew
then
that, didn't we?
what?
We
Oh, we
already
knew they
knew
were
that.
coming, but they
Oh,
gave us a little teaser for it, and they gave us a teaser for the Daryl Dixon one,
hmm.
and said that it takes place in France.
Hmm.
So, I guess the zombies just kind of lean against street corners, going, "We're in,
Yeah, right. Right.
we're in little berets," and
That sounds really exciting. Boy,
yeah,
it's a sad state of affairs when that's what comes out of San Diego.
yeah.
So is this it as far as the bigger names to just pulling out of that show? I mean, is it over? We won't have Marvel and DC and whoever else,
No, this was a one-time thing
Okay.
because of the actors' strike.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't bring the big actors down there,
Yeah.
and they knew it in ahead of time. They knew they weren't going to be able to. So, and that's the big draw, especially for Marvel, because Kevin Feige comes out and says we're doing this, and here are the actors, and it's Robert
Yeah.
Downey Jr.
I
But
what I found really fascinating was the
hey,
rules that came out about what like actors who are already scheduled to appear at conventions and what they could and could not do. Now that was really, really interesting. As
yeah,
far as basically they had to be themselves. There was no other association that could be made
yeah,
at
they
a.
can't talk about shows they're working on.
Mhm. Yep.
They can just be there and talk to the fans.
Yeah, and sell like their headshots. Nothing of characters, TV shows, movies that they were in. Nothing. They couldn't have it presented. A sign saying so and so
Yeah.
from so and so. Anything like that.
Well,
I mean, it
even
was nice that they could still do it, like still
right.
be there. But wow, it was just really fascinating.
Well, even something like us, we have things that, I mean, if we ever want to be part of the WGA, as both of us are writers, we probably want to keep that option open,
Hmm.
or Screen Actors Guild and stuff like that. And I have been on TV, so I would, like to keep that open too, just in case.
Yeah.
So we can review, analyze, and react to shows and movies.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot outright promote, and we can't do paid promotions,
Hmm.
which a lot of the studios were trying to reach out to certain places and asking them to do these promotions. And, you
Uh-huh.
know, so like we can talk about Secret Invasion, but we're not necessarily supposed to say where it is or what time. It's like now there is some news we can still cover, like the news that part of Secret Invasion is going to show up on streaming on Hulu. So if you
Hmm.
don't have Disney Plus, you can see the first 3 episodes on Hulu.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, that's news. We can
Why are
cover
they
it.
why are they doing that?
I think to try to broaden the audience.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
because it's one of those that's not getting a lot of views,
Yeah.
but it's a really good series with
Yeah.
some of the best acting we've seen in Marvel in a while.
They had to kind of figure that it wasn't going to get the same hits that a superhero one would.
Yeah. But I'll tell you the truth, this is like Andor for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of the best written
Yeah, I
series
think
they've
that's a
had.
good correlation. it's not as sexy as a superhero, a straight, flat out superhero one. But yeah, it's a shame if there's anybody who normally watches Marvel stuff who made the strange decision not to watch it, because I would think they're really missing out, really, really missing out.
I've noticed that a lot of the people around me that I talk to about these shows have been skipping some of the series. And it's basically after Moon Knight, they started, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk. They haven't really been paying attention. And
I can't imagine, but I mean, I don't even think it's my OCD. It's just like I'm a Marvel fan, and I'm going to watch it. Like, why would you? And the way everything is, connected, and there's always references and things like that. I just, I don't get that. I mean, is it that huge of an investment of time? But I guess there's so many things on these days that maybe it is.
Sure. Now, Harry points out that one of his big news out of San Diego is that Renegade Game Studios, has a Cobra source book and other modules for their G.I. Joe RPG line.
Cool.
I wasn't aware of a G.I. Joe RPG line. It makes sense. G.I. Joe's a lot of great characters.
Yep.
And I could totally see it, especially as a war RPG. So.
Yeah, I'm glad, because it sounds like it initially did well enough that they're going to continue and put out more stuff. I'm waiting for the Adventure Team source book and modules, which I actually want to write. That's good.
I'm waiting for the source book for the October Guard.
Okay, that might be a Cobra one.
Yeah, how's that for a deep dive?
That's great.
Yeah. By the way, G.I. Joe's going to get a new comic series launched from Skybound.
Skybound.
Yeah.
That's one that I'm aware of.
That's Robert Kirkman's company.
Okay, I was going to say, how the hell did they get G.I. Joe?
They got G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Wow.
And they've already announced the new Transformers line, but they had a book come out last month, and the second issue's out now, called Void Rivals.
Huh.
And this basically introduces a new universe where Transformers and it's a cohesive universe now.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's what Kirkman's doing.
That's got to hurt for IDW to have lost all of that stuff.
IDW was already having some issues. Yeah. They had to let a lot of people go, stuff like that. So it doesn't surprise me that much. But yeah, these licensed properties seem to be moving around a lot more than they used to.
Yeah.
Somebody picked up the Flash Gordon license.
I think I saw that.
Yeah. Conan went from Dark Horse to Marvel. Now it's over at Titan.
It's weird that Marvel lost that, unless I don't understand that.
Yeah. Ed brings up one. Dynamite has the license now for Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's a huge property.
Yeah, no, I know. I've always been amazed that one little movie, how many years ago now, like, just the merchandise just keeps going on and on and on and on.
Yeah. It's interesting who they've got to write it. They haven't said who's going to draw it yet, but Torun Grønbekk is going to be the writer. And Torun is currently writing the new Red Sonja series for them, based off the 50th anniversary of Red Sonja. But also, she worked with Jonathan Hickman, I believe, on a bunch of stuff, some of the Thor books and stuff like that. And she co-writes with a lot of big name people too. So I'm curious to see how that's going to come out. I got to read the new Red Sonja and thought it was really good, but it was also kind of hearkening back to what you expect Red Sonja to be.
Yeah.
Dynamite had kind of slipped away from that, and we're doing like multiverse stuff, or they did a whole series which it read well, but it tied into Arthurian legend, and stuff like that. But the problem was that they were kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And I was really hoping they would go back to a classic, almost Conan-like Red Sonja,
I
which is
think
kind of
that's
weird.
inevitable that will happen. You know, that somebody will say we have to go back to basics, and then that kind of
Yeah.
happens. Yeah.
Do you know much about the Red Sonja character and the weird?
No. Other than it came out of Conan, but from what I understand, she was not called Red Sonja when she first appeared.
In the Shadow of the Vulture, I think it was called, there is a character named Red Sonja
Oh,
of
okay.
Ragotini, I think it is. That name slips me, but it was spelled Sony.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't in the Hyborian Age. She was set in the 16th century, and she was a gun wielding fighter,
Mm-hmm.
and had a problem with the Sultan of of the Ottoman Empire. Her sister was a member of a not a brothel, but she was a harem girl that was going to marry the Sultan. So, and she only appears in one story.
Right.
Roy Thomas and Barry Windsor Smith, who only went by Barry Smith at the time,
Mm-hmm.
decided in Conan number 23 to create this character, a female character, to go into the Conan books.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
they just borrowed the name, but
Oh,
changed the
okay.
Y to a J.
Yeah.
So they put her in a completely different era. She looks somewhat different.
Mm-hmm.
And even it's not even the classic look they gave her, the metal bikini, the chainmail bikini.
Yeah.
She's in a full chainmail shirt, long sleeve, and a pair of silk shorts.
Well, of course.
Yeah, because you only need to protect from the top up.
What a
But yeah,
weird story. The way that so that
yeah,
the original prose story was Robert E. Howard, right?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And it's funny because from what I understand, the rights ended up
Mm-hmm.
with Luke Lieberman, who writes some of the Red Sonja books, and the rights to Red Sonja ended up with him because I think it's Howard gave him the rights to his dad's, who was Howard's lawyer. This I can't verify. This is the story I
Okay.
was told.
Yeah, I know that it's separate. It's not part of the Howard
Right.
estate. Yeah, it's not part of the
And
Conan stuff.
it was finally cleared up in 2006, which is a year after the character moved to Dynamite.
Hmm.
And what ended up happening was Red Sonja LLC, which owns Red Sonja with a J, and is it Paragon? The company that owns the Robert E. Howard library.
Yeah, I'm not sure the name of that.
Paradigm, something. Red Sonja took them to court, and it was in court for a couple of years. And then in 2008, they came up with this really good solution, this very amicable solution, which was Red Sonja LLC paid Paragon $1 for all the rights to Red Sonja clear, so that they wouldn't have to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
In return, Paragon paid Red Sonja LLC the rights to the Shadow of the Vulture, whatever the name of that story was, so they could continue publishing it as part of the Robert E. Howard library.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah, so it's like you can have that story. We have the character.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of interesting there.
Wow. It kind of is as weird as to me as the Lone Ranger and the Green Hornet are not owned by the same people these days, but actually was created by the same guy. And I remember reading a story about how they got separated at some point, and it's just always so weird to me about that.
Because not only were they created by the same radio station in Chicago, but they're supposed to be related.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Britt Reed is supposed to be the great nephew of
Yep.
What, John Reed? No.
It's John Reed is the Lone Ranger. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I know my shit.
Good, good. Yeah, because the Lone Ranger had a nephew named Dan Reed, and then that's supposed to be how it gets down to Britt Reed. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right, which was the son of the brother that got killed, the U.S. Marshal.
Right.
Yes. So,
Right.
So, I was thinking of you this weekend.
It's nice to know that somebody is. All right, lay it on me. I'm sitting back. I'm all ready for this one.
Well, because you do these books through your Becky Books company that are kind of history books and stuff, I was thinking it would be fun to break up and look into the different Ultraverse characters.
Okay.
And it's their 30th anniversary, I just found out. I found out after I had the idea that they had a 30th anniversary panel at San Diego this year.
30 years.
I know.
Ouch.
Yeah. And the fact that we don't have any Ultraverse characters, from what I understand, is part because everybody who worked on the books have a royalty set up.
Mm-hmm.
So if they did anything with those characters, they have to pay royalties. But also, and I haven't been able to verify this part of it, but the rumor is that Scott Roseman, the producer guy that
I know the name, yeah,
did Cowboys and Aliens and stuff like that, supposedly has a deal where he gets a huge chunk if there's any TV or movie deals or whatever. So that's what's really preventing it. But the only reason Marvel bought the company wasn't because they wanted the characters. It's because they wanted Malibu's coloring department.
Oh, yeah, you've mentioned this before, right? Yes, I think, yes.
But it wasn't that they necessarily wanted the coloring department for themselves. They wanted to prevent DC from getting it. Because Marvel was already moving into digital coloring and DC wasn't. Where DC could have bought it and suddenly have this color. And Malibu's coloring department was great.
How weird.
Yep.
How weird. Speaking of licenses in comic books, the one that kind of mystifies me right now is how Ghostbusters has evaporated. It was at IDW for so long and had a following, and then there was this thing where they stopped publishing Ghostbusters comics, and they kept saying, or they were shutting down. Like, I couldn't get my stuff anymore. They were shutting down the collections and everything like that. And then, without any sort of fanfare, we heard that I think it was like it went over to Dark Horse, or Dark Horse was supposed to do something with it, and then nothing. And literally, I mean, a fairly successful movie comes out, and then nothing. So I have no idea if the license is still at Dark Horse or what the hell. It's just weird not to have any Ghostbusters comics out.
But look how long it was between James Bond comics.
Yeah.
So some of these rights holders, they don't look at comics as being a moneymaker.
Yeah.
And they're not in a lot of ways.
No, of course not. Yeah. They're not.
Yeah. Or, I mean, I can think of some great movies that would turn into great comic series. That, was it Moonstone did something with Buckaroo Banzai? But you think somebody would do more with that?
Oh, I'm not so sure it was Moonstone, but yeah.
Could have started with Moonstone.
Yeah.
But the guy who owns the writer of it, there's an argument between the writer and the studio who owns the rights.
But you're right. Yeah, you would think that there would have been, and there's not really much of anything as far as comics goes with Buckaroo.
Or another great property that somebody, and anytime I talk to a publisher who says, hey, what properties do you think? I always say the Frighteners.
a little more obscure, yeah, but
Right.
still. Hmm.
But The Frighteners has a great history. It's is it Guillermo del Toro?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's Guillermo del Toro. Or no, it's Peter Jackson. It's Peter Jackson.
Okay.
And you would think he'd be like, yeah, sure, go ahead. But you know, there were so many people when I mentioned The Frighteners, they're like, oh yeah, that's great, and that character, I think it would be awesome.
I
But
finally saw the movie. I never saw it when it was originally out, but like just a couple of years ago, I finally sat down and watched the movie. And it's definitely not Ghostbusters, although
oh no,
yeah, I mean,
but you
as
got a
far as
young
like it's a
Sheena,
supernatural and it's got some comedy, aspects to it.
oh yeah, but you got a young Chi McBride in there. You've got John Aston.
Hmm.
I mean, there's
Yep,
some great stuff.
yep.
Ed asks about a Greatest American Hero comic series. I remember there was a
Yeah,
comic probably within the last decade.
yeah, that's right.
It. I actually was at San Diego Con. This would have been in the early 2010s, maybe up to early 2010s, and Robert Culp and William Catt were there,
Hmm.
and I got to meet them and have my picture with them, and and I think they were there for the comic that
Hmm.
was coming out, and William Catt actually picked my brain on um, on publishing because he was looking to do his own comic at the time as well.
Hmm.
So, by the way, amazing conversation to be standing there having a conversation with William Catt
I
and
bet.
growing up with him as the greatest American hero.
I I bet. Does does Dynamite, it's Dynamite, I think. Does Dynamite still have $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman?
I don't know if they still have it. They're the last ones to have it.
That's a property that there have been comics and there have been recently, but I don't think they've ever really succeeded in successfully translating that. And I've never every time they would come out with something, it's like, oh, it's got an Alex Ross cover, and I try it and it's like it just doesn't do it for me for some reason, and I don't know,
Yeah.
what that is, but I would always try whatever new one that they would put out. It makes
I
me
think
wonder where that license is.
I think part of it is you kind of have to keep it in the 70s
I totally agree. Oh, yeah,
because
he's got to have a collar out to here on his leisure suits and
yeah, because $6 million back then was a lot. Now
right,
it's what you pay your third string running back on a football team.
right,
You
right,
know,
right.
so
Oh,
Harry says that he's looking forward to Flash Gordon in 2024 from Mad Cave.
hmm,
That's pretty impressive that Mad Cave is the one doing it.
hmm.
That they're the ones that got the license. Mad Cave has been kind of hit or miss for me. They've had some really good books, and then some that's I sit there just scratching my head like, why did this get made? And there are a lot of comics out there nowadays that I read, and I cannot figure out why they got made.
I just remembered the big comic news that came out is Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. Did you see that?
Justice League versus Kong?
Versus Godzilla versus Kong.
Oh,
It's literally Justice League crossing over with the so-called Monster Verse.
yeah.
It's Godzilla versus Kong, whatever the name of that movie was. I think it's called Godzilla versus, but it's Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong.
That's the one where you just want to see Batman being the only member of the Justice League going, if I had enough time to prepare, I would still die. You
Well,
know?
what I think is funny is that a long time ago, literally during the time of the Adam West TV series, they were America and Japan were actually talking about making a Batman versus Batman meets Godzilla,
Yeah.
So maybe like this is that final, it finally comes together where he'll finally get to meet Godzilla. But it's the it's the current Godzilla and the current King Kong that they're versus.
Yeah, Harry's suggesting that they should do a book based on the $6 Million Man version of Bigfoot. Which I
Yeah.
remember that. That would have been awesome.
Yes.
See,
Yes.
there is another way you could do the $6 Million Man
Uh-huh.
as a little bit more parody if you put them in today, but at that same technology level from the 70s.
Okay.
So like
Okay.
the guy that takes his face off and is a robot underneath. You're
Yeah.
like, what, why is he doing that? You know?
Okay.
So you can see with one eye, really far with one eye. You could go parody. They did try to bring back the Bionic Woman, and that didn't go over well on TV with Michelle Ryan.
Oh, geez, I forgot. I see here. I've forgotten all about that. Right. Right.
Yeah. The only reason I remember that is because when the episode of Metal Hurlant that adapted the story I wrote was cast, and there's only 2 people in the entire cast. They said, "Oh, we got James Marsters from Buffy, and we got Michelle Ryan from the Bionic Woman."
Okay.
And I went, "Okay, so you got James Marsters from Buffy, great. You got Michelle Ryan from Doctor Who. We're going to go with that instead." So, Entertainment Weekly has some exclusive covers so the JL versus G versus K. That's a real thing. Wow.
Yes, it is.
Giant mech Batman punching Godzilla. Nice. Yeah, Ed says, "Oh, and people could hack the Bionics and control them." Nice. I could just picture with them if they were like pulled in time, and then them going, "We're going to need to replace these parts." They haven't made these things in years.
Yeah, well, it would be all wire. It would have actual wires, and circuits like this big. Yeah, yeah. That's actually a fun idea. Yeah, that's very fun.
Yeah. So, the other thing that came out in the announcement, if you're a fan of, we speaking about Skybound earlier, of the Invincible animated series on Prime. They finally announced that season 2. They put a trailer out. It'll be coming out in 2024. But they're also going to do a one-shot focused on the character of Adam Eve. So she's going to have a one-shot.
I saw Adam Eve was trending on Twitter, and I wasn't sure why that was. Okay, well, that explains that then. Yeah.
Yes. So, but yeah, there really weren't that many big announcements. I mean, there's some comic announcements, but a lot of the comic publishers, like Dynamite, put all their announcements out on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Well, maybe the show, sort of returned to its roots in a way and was more of a comic show this time around.
Yeah, Marvel. See, I'm surprised Marvel didn't save their Miss Marvel announcement for San Diego. They kill her and then suddenly they're going to bring her back, but she's going to be a mutant.
Oh, yeah, yes, yeah. Like we didn't see that coming, that she'd be back that soon,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, okay, look, if you're going to kill somebody, at least wait a little while before you bring them back.
Right.
Like, nobody believed they were really killing Superman.
Right.
But they stretched it out a year and made some really interesting stories to fill that.
Magneto's been dead for a little while now. I'm surprised. In the X comics, he still is dead, as far as I think so, if I remember correctly.
I just always picture the limbo waiting room. Yeah, Marvel did a story about the heroes that die and come back a lot. I remember that for some reason, and them waiting around. And I just picture this waiting room where he's like Iron Fist sitting on the couch, stuff like that. And Uncle Ben is in a recliner, just waiting. Everybody else comes and goes. He's the one constant, just sitting there. He used to spend a lot of time with Bucky.
Yeah, I was gonna say Bucky.
Yeah. But Bucky made it back. So
Never say never, Uncle Ben.
all right, let's go ahead and shift over to Secret Invasion.
Okay.
Now, before we start on it, like I said, we can talk about this because we are not promoting it. We are simply reviewing, reacting, and analyzing it, which is, according to Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild, perfectly legit.
Okay.
We can do this without fear of crossing any picket lines. They are not reviewers are not striking. So
right. You want to put the spoilers up?
Yeah, sure. There we go. Okay. So there's a lot of interesting things in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And my problem is I watched 4 and 5 kind of not together, but I didn't cover it on my show during the week. I know we talked about it, but in a lot of ways the two episodes blended.
Okay.
So I know 4 started with Gaia waking up after being shot.
Yes, yeah.
Did it end with Fury and Priscilla shooting at each other, or was that in 5?
No, wait. No, they're not shooting at each other.
They're sitting at a table. And they both pull guns and shoot.
Okay. Right. Wait. That's stop testing me like this. That's not. They're not. That's not in at the end of any episode. It's kind of in the middle, isn't it?
But that was episode 4, right?
Yes. Yeah. 4.
Okay.
We just got 5. We only have 1 left. Yeah.
Right. That happens.
4.
And then you have the big battle in saving the president.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and then they recapped that incident or whatever, But no, that was in episode 4.
Okay. So one of the things that bugged me I like to watch the online reviews and the coverage and the Easter egg videos, and a couple of them are bitching and complaining about this show. There's one particular guy that keeps saying, yeah, one guy keeps talking about how this show is so small. It could be bigger, but it's just so small. And he points out the fact that there aren't that many people in the hallway of the hospital and the lighting. And
you know what? That's unfortunately that's the Easter egg video guy that I watch, and you know what? I was disappointed in him.
Yeah,
because he's usually not that negative.
Yep.
And I wasn't on board with what he was saying. Yeah, he did it like a side-by-side comparison with, I can't remember what it was, but I actually had I had an answer for what he was saying because it's when the president, whose name is Ritlin. Okay. When he's brought in and they have 2 people. Here's the thing. My reasoning is that nobody knew that the president was going to be brought in. It's a hospital in England.
Yes.
Nick Fury drove off with the president, with nobody's permission.
Exactly.
And then he brings him in. Yeah, when he initially runs in there, there's not going to be 15 million people, nor guards or anything like that at all. They threw him on a gurney and they start taking him down the hall.
Right. There's no Secret Service.
I didn't agree with that's Brian or Ryan Erie who does it's Screen Crush. And yeah, again, that was one of the rare times that I was disappointed in it. It almost, to me, it seemed like he just wanted to get a few more hits on the video by being a little negative. That was, or he didn't have enough to say, so he kind of filled it out with that. But no, if you really looked at it, nobody would have known that Fury was going to bring him in, and that's just what was going on. That was my
exact same thought. Is that Fury didn't take him. Fury doesn't trust Rhodey. So he took him to a different, an unexpected hospital,
Yeah.
rolled in, said, "I've got the U.S. president. Get just essential personnel, everybody out,
Yeah.
else out.
Yeah.
Take us to a room."
Yeah.
And of course the hospital would do that.
Yeah. He also complained that like there would be guards inside the room later on when the president is in bed and he's sitting
Yeah.
up and Rhodey comes in and all that. And that's another BS thing. No, I don't see that there would be guards inside the room. They'd be outside the room.
Right. And if Rhodey walked in, he'd go, "Okay, step outside so I can tell this important stuff to the president
Yeah.
that you're not cleared to hear."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here's a
that's just
question.
nitpicking.
Here's a question, and it concerns what they're talking about. Gravik tells Rhodey basically like try to get World War III started. we're gonna tell everybody where New Skrullos is and all this kind of stuff. And so Rhodey takes it to the president and says, "Here's the the satellite imagery, and it's right here, and we'll blow it up and blah 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 blah." But we're to assume that the real world leaders are still being held captive in there.
Some of them are.
Okay.
I mean, the ones that are captive, yes.
Yeah.
But there are plenty that aren't replaced yet.
No, that's what I mean. I'm just more concerned about the ones that have been replaced, and the real ones are in those in those things. So here's what I want to know this whole time. Where is the real Rhodey, and is he in that facility?
I think he is.
Okay, so we're also risking the real Rhodey to get blown. Like if the U.S. bombs that place or whatever, then you're risking the real Rhodey getting blown up. It's interesting how that question hasn't really come up at all. Like Nixnet doesn't seem to be terribly concerned yet about where the real Rhodey is.
Part of the problem is we don't know how long Rhodey has been a Skrull.
Yeah, that's
so we don't even know if so there's still that question. So he might be there, he might not. He might be dead.
You think they're going to do it that way?
I don't think so, because then it doesn't make sense to do Armor Wars.
No. My thought is that there will be fallout from this in Armor Wars. Armor Wars is not only fallout from Tony Stark's death, but the idea that hopefully we get the real Rhodey back, and that he's going to have to kind of deal with that whole thing. Rhodey was not blipped, so it's not like he missed all that time. Plus now he's been he's been taken over by the Skrulls. But I have a feeling that that's going to be part of that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So
here's my question for you.
Yeah.
Who does Fury call at the end?
That's not the biggest question I've got, or thought I have, but
okay.
Yeah, that's a good. I mean, it could be Gaia. I don't think they're bringing anybody else in.
No, I have hold on to that for a moment. But my theory is that it's Talos. I can't imagine that they've killed him off. I get this feeling from the tone and the setup of the whole thing. I mean, it's somebody that Fury really knows. Yeah. And yes, it could be Maria. I kind of hope that it's not. I think it was an interesting way that she went out. Some people say that it wasn't worthy of her. I could argue that. But I think it needs to still be that the stakes have to be set high by getting rid of Maria Hill. I think it's Talos. That somehow that was all some kind of a setup,
I don't think it's Talos or Maria Hill.
Oh.
And the reason is because they've already had one fake death brought back to life.
Yep. Okay.
To do two, it becomes a broken record.
I
and
hear
it
you.
cheapens the series.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to pull from that well a second time.
See, my deal is that it's Gaia. That's a set. I mean, they're making kind of a big deal about that. It's right at the very end. It's mysterious. You expect a little bit more than just Gaia.
Yeah.
But I don't know who it could be, because you're right. They're not going to bring somebody in right at the very end of this thing that we haven't seen before. And that goes back to what I was going to say to you. Can you unpack this whole thing about why it was thought that Quake was going to be in this show?
It was wishful thinking.
Okay, I never understood it. I
It was
mean, in a way I did. I mean, that would have been cool because I liked her,
Mhm.
and I liked the character and all of that. But that would have had to have happened way earlier in this series. But
I have a theory for you that
okay,
would. Okay, one of the things that the director said is that he wasn't necessarily looking to have a bunch of cameos.
yeah, okay,
He wanted it to be about the characters. So there's one character that it could be that fits that. What if he's already rescued the real Rhodey?
damn. A half second. If I would have had a half second, I would have said, "You mean it's Rhodey?" You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm liking this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What if he's already rescued the real Rhodey and that's who it is?
Is that too much to have happen, off screen? I mean, I would assume that if that happens, that they do a quick, just like the flashback of how Gaia survived. We got that thing
Yeah.
that showed her going into the room and doing the whole bloop bloop thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, wow, that would be kind of cool.
Or what if we have it in a flashback and we see that it's happened for a while?
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, um, so he's been up on the space station and Fury's been keeping an eye on him, knowing that Rhodey's been a Skrull all this time.
Okay.
Or one other person that it could be, um, Ross, the real Ross.
Not as much impact maybe, but you know what's interesting? They at the end of every episode, the credits begin with special guest star Kobe Smulders.
That's because they keep showing the footage for being
Right,
shot.
right. Because I was gonna say they dispensed with the special guest star Ross.
Yeah.
Name flew out of my head, but
Martin
okay.
Freeman.
But isn't it interesting that they have to do that credit, even though it's just the same clip, from or whatever from before. I hope it's Rhodey. I won't be too upset if it's Ross, but I hope it's the real Rhodey. But it has to be somebody close to Nick, somebody that could really help him out with the final thing going on here.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow.
But yeah, I could see Rhodey popping up in the War Machine armor and kind of balancing out the Super Skrulls.
Yeah.
So.
Would the War Machine armor take us too far into superhero territory?
I don't think so. But also, one of the things that we got in the Secret Invasion story was a moment where you had the same hero and the Skrull version of that hero fighting each other.
Yeah. Yes.
So you would get that with this.
That's where I was starting to go, was that would sort of emulate in some ways the comic series.
Yeah.
I think because you can't have all of these what?
Ed's comment. Wouldn't it be funny if they found the real Rhodey and it was Terrence Howard?
I don't think Terrence Howard is ever coming pardon me, back to the Marvel Studios universe.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't think that's going to happen. That would be funny, but I don't see it happening. Shoot, where was I going? Damn you, anyways. my brain just skipped a couple of tracks here or whatever. Crap. It was good wherever I was. Oh, what I was going to say was you've got Gravik as the Super Skrull.
Yeah.
All these normal people are not going to be able to fight him,
right?
And other than Gaia, I
still think only has the one. I still think she only has the one ability.
Okay, my theory is that Gaia still will try to take him on, and she gets killed.
Yeah, I think they killed Talos, and her mother's already dead. Now maybe her mother pops up, but that doesn't seem right.
I hope it's not Priscilla that he called at the end there.
Yeah,
I don't know. That wouldn't really do anything,
The footage we had of her fighting, we've already seen now, because we had the footage of her and Gaia fighting. Yeah. It's like, well, where's that from? Well, it turns out it's from episode 5.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so who he called is going to be important. But for me right now, and I think the real Rhodey in the War Machine armor would be the perfect.
It's what I would want. I mean, not only just having the real Rhodey himself, but having the War Machine armor. Yeah, I'm not. Although it would emulate the comic, I'm not so sure. I don't know if it fits well with the tone of this show, but the kid in me would want that.
Okay, we're following Rava, the woman, female Skrull who's opposing as Rhodey. She goes to get the War Machine armor. She opens the whatever where it's being contained. It's empty. Pan around, there's Rhodey in the armor and says, "You looking for this?" Direct callback to Avengers.
Okay.
Age of Ultron. There you go.
Okay.
That should be working for Marvel.
I will accept all that. I was waiting for people to maybe complain about, Nick goes and gets all of his stuff out of the mausoleum or whatever. And when he puts the eye patch on, I expected, the internet to break in half. Like, why would he need that? He's been without it the entire show. And my argument was going to be, it's his superhero suit.
He's suiting up. And I had no problem with that.
No, does it make a lot of sense? No, but he gets the coat and the eye patch. It's his damn superhero suit. Of course he's gonna suit up.
Yeah. No, my only problem with that scene is the coat's in one, the eye patch is in another. Like, all of those would have fit in one, Nick.
It's more dramatic this way. Well, I actually got a little nervous when the headstone opens up and that vial is in there. And I thought, wow, that's not really that protected. I mean, what if somebody accidentally drove a car into that tombstone?
Yeah, there you go.
Or it's just something, it's like, that's not very like, that made me nervous to think that it had been sitting in that thing. It would have been better in the mausoleum.
What would have? Okay, wild ass speculation time.
Okay.
That fluid, the harvest.
Yeah.
That is a Batman plan if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
Okay, so they've got the DNA of the Avengers.
Yep.
I don't think this will end I don't think this is going to end with Fury pouring it out. It might.
Oh, I
So
think
I think there's potential that leads into another movie.
Hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What is the other movie that they've been talking a lot about?
Fantastic Four.
Captain America Brave New World.
Oh, okay. Yes.
If
Yes.
you've read Aldous Huxley's Brave New World,
Uh.
a lot of it is about cloning.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that the Thunderbolts, um, remember that there was a clone of Thor that Nick Fury made in the comics?
Yeah, that plays into what storyline? Is it Secret Invasion? No.
Uh,
Yes. No.
no, it's,
The clone of Thor kills Bill Foster, Giant Man.
yeah, so that's Civil War.
Civil War. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
going way back. Yeah.
All right. So, what if, when this is all said and done,
Mm-hmm.
Thunderbolt Ross ends up with that,
Hmm.
starts trying to clone his own team of, or somebody starts trying to clone their own team of superheroes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the Thunderbolts are this ragtag group that they put together to try to stop it, and that becomes the plot, or that not the Thunderbolts, but that becomes the plot of Brave New World. Is Cap
Hmm.
trying to get that back?
Hmm.
And Ross is using Thunderbolt Ross is using the leader as the one to make the clones.
What I want to know is it's just one vial. Are they all is it all mixed up into one thing? Like
Yeah,
it
that
should have
seems
been like a
weird to
little
me,
a
too.
thing of several of
Yeah, that seems a little weird to me too.
yeah, like unless this is the beginning of the super adaptoid.
That would be interesting.
Because he had all the, aspects.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it could be all of the, or like just select powers put together.
So funny. I love the way they actually he goes to collect like the blood of all the Avengers or whatever, including Carol Danvers. Like it was so funny the way they called out her.
Well, I think they called her out because that she is technically supposed to be the most powerful Avenger.
Yes. Yep. Sure.
So that would be nth level,
Sure.
you know.
That
And
was
Scarlet
also
Witch, I don't.
that was pretty mind blowing that it was Gravik was one of the ones that was out there collecting those samples.
Yeah, I still think Gravik is kind of like a son to Fury,
Sure, yeah,
which is
yeah.
what I
No,
said in the
I see
beginning.
it. Not a
Yeah,
literal son, but yeah,
right.
sure, yeah.
And one of the, I think it was the director, talked about how he sees Secret Invasion not as Fury trying to stop Gravik, but Fury is trying to reconcile with Gravik.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Well, yeah, we're right back to the how are they going to end this in one episode? It's got to be a double length episode.
See, I don't think that anymore.
Yeah.
I think they could probably solve it really quickly if they just kind of step away from trying to do anything, like crazy, like don't, it's just Gaia. That's who was on the phone. He goes in, she backs up because he thinks Gaia's dead. She's got Extremis. They take out Gravik.
It's it's probably going to end up being that. Yeah. I mean, there's got to be a showdown.
Yeah.
And she's the only other one that we know that has any of the Super Skrull stuff going on.
Yeah. Yeah, they tend not to do the outlandish stuff. But I don't think the real Rhodey showing up would be that outlandish either.
No. At the very least, if that's not who he's talking to, they need to show that the real Rhodey is rescued or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, because that still feels like it's part of the show. Normally, there's a lot of people it's like, oh, well, this is going to show up at the end. Well, why would they? That's not what they've been building up.
Yeah, it's going to be Daisy Johnson right at the very end, just out of nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the opposite of Chekhov's gun.
Right.
That's like, oh, there was a howitzer here all along.
Yeah, and they're going to bring Deathlock in too.
Oh yeah, there you go.
From Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, the whole Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. crew is going to show up.
Well, now yes, if that was Phil Coulson that he was talking to, I'd be totally on board with that. Totally.
Yeah.
In fact, that's what I think it is now. That's my new theory. It's Phil Coulson.
Oh, Ed's got it here. Fury breaks the fourth wall, calls Kevin a mother effer, and they all show up at She-Hulk's barbecue.
Okay. All right.
There you go. With the Rock.
I'm on board with it. We ought to have a pool, like what it'll turn out to be, a money pool. Hey, we didn't even get into the trailer for the Marvels.
Oh, that's right. There was a trailer for that.
There was a trailer for the Marvels, right?
Yeah. I don't necessarily think anything really stood out to me as different than the previous trailer.
No,
it looks fun.
Way. Yeah. It was just sort of more of the same.
Yeah, it still looks fun to me.
Yeah.
I'm
going to go see it.
But yeah, I don't think there was anything. Probably the most interesting thing I found out is the fact that the actress playing the bad guy is Tom Hiddleston's fiance.
Oh, is that right? It struck me that we haven't really had much in the way of the female big bads.
Yeah, Hella's probably the only one.
Yeah, that sounds right. So that could be interesting. Now that was the one thing, like all along, like it wasn't really clear to me who the big bad was in, the villain was in this thing. So yeah. I guess it's her.
Yeah, it's basically the new version of Ronan the Accuser.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. With the other Bobble from Miss Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like they've done a really good job merging those three characters and three properties.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. Okay, go on. I had a thought and then it flew out of my head again.
So no, I'm looking forward to the Marvels. Like I said, I didn't see anything that went, oh my God. But
same here.
It was some cool action.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And we know they're going to get different costumes at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's going to be a musical number.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because the planet we see in the comics is a planet where everybody speaks in rhyme and song.
Yes.
So they're not just forcing it in.
Right.
Because the character of Prince Yan that we see in the comics is somebody that Carol accidentally gets married to.
Right.
So they're just bringing that part of it into it. So
right.
So I did find out the other day that I guess that Miss Marvel's father, the actor who's playing that, is currently dealing with some inappropriate behavior charges. Yep.
If these people would just behave.
Speaking of that, did you see that they finally released the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania assembled thing, the behind the scenes, and all of the stuff with Jonathan Majors is still there?
No, wait. Is it on Disney Plus right now?
It is, yes.
Well, they did that quietly then.
They did. They released it Tuesday with the most recent Secret Invasion.
Okay, when you mean Wednesday?
Well, it's Tuesday to me because.
Oh, right. Well, as soon as this is done, I was going to go to bed, but I'm going to go and watch that instead. Okay, so all of that is there. Okay.
Yeah, and by the way, both Miss Marvel and Hawkeye have deleted scenes in the extra sections now.
Okay.
So they're adding this stuff, but they're not broadcast. They're doing it kind of quietly.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's interesting because I just rewatched Quantum Mania. I just rewatched Multiverse of Madness, and then I went on to Quantum Mania. I decided to, because I haven't done rewatches of those since they've been on Disney Plus. So I started going through the Phase 5 stuff.
I watched it the original time. I've listened to the director's commentary, and now I've watched the assembled. And the more I hear this stuff and what they were trying to do, the more I like the movie.
Oh, I felt that just by rewatching just the movie itself. That I walked away going like, this was a perfectly fine movie and a good achievement. And I felt the same way about Multiverse of Madness. I just
could there be there are some special effects problems in it, and I think they could have done a better job with the look of MODOK a little bit. But I kind of like the idea
with his face, yes.
Yeah, but I like the idea that they did with MODOK. I like that it was Darren Cross, that it continued this through line of a character that we're never going to get normally.
Right.
So it's just everybody's so sensitive now. They want everything to be exactly like it is in the comics.
Yeah.
It's like none of this is exactly like the comics.
That is correct.
Yeah. I mean, let's go back to Captain America: The First Avenger. That's not how Bucky died.
Right. Right. And I rolled with that. That came up in my Facebook memories. It's been 12 years since First Avenger came out. And it was so funny that day that I saw it, like every single one of my posts that day on Facebook were just like going nuts about that movie. But it's been 12 years since that came out. Whew.
Always amazed they didn't go back to Joe Johnston for another one, even though the Russo brothers were great.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I am surprised about that too. Totally agree.
Yeah, Joe Johnston's only done a handful of films, but I love him.
I wonder if it's literally just him, like that maybe they did approach him and he just didn't feel like going
it's
down
possible.
there.
I know he was really attached to The Rocketeer when they made the movie, and was very upset they weren't able to do a sequel. But have you watched the Dave Stevens documentary yet?
No, I have not. Where is it at? Where did it?
I think it's on Amazon Prime now.
Okay. No, I have not.
I watched it the other night, a couple weeks ago now, but it was really touching and it's a neat story. But there's so many people in there that I know. And seeing them react to his passing and what happened to him and stuff like that, it had me in tears.
Wow.
It's like he and Thomas Jane became really good friends. And I knew because of associations and knowing Tom and knowing a few, there was at one point Tom got a DUI. And it came out in the news and then went away. But the reason he got the DUI is he was coming back from Dave's funeral.
Oh, wow.
He was so upset by that. And so it's just stuff like that, So, but it's a really interesting video. And it's Joe Johnston's on there talking about the making of the movie, stuff like that. I found out a lot about Dave Stevens I didn't know. He did all the storyboards for Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, yes, that's true. And I had kind of forgotten that, and that's come up again more recently because Indiana Jones has been sort of on everybody's minds. Yeah.
But I guess there was a lot of fighting because of it. Because George Lucas kept coming to him going, speed it up. Just you don't have to put that much detail. And then Spielberg would walk over and go, no. Add all the detail you can. Because Spielberg was looking at them as art.
Yeah.
And Lucas was like, well, we got to do the job. And Steven's like, no, I'm going to hang on to these. These are awesome.
Shut up! I'm going to hang on to these.
So
Wow.
yeah, no, it's a really good documentary if you get a chance to watch it.
Okay.
So, all right. I think we did our show.
We've killed another hour.
We have. So finale next week, but you won't be here.
Yes, I'm sorry.
So why is it you're...
Okay, so my vacation begins on the Monday following that, but it wouldn't normally because I have to do inventory at work, and that's on Monday, and I don't want to do that. So what I'm doing is I'm staying late on Sunday and doing all my inventory and everything, however long it takes, just so that I can start my vacation on Monday and have an entire 7 days off and not 6.
Okay, well, maybe we can squeeze in either Friday night or Saturday night, do it then.
Yeah.
And just do it an early night, and and then it will still show up on the experience on the normal time.
And the following Sunday, everything should be fine because I'll be coming back from Pulp Fest, but I should be back by 9 p.m. Central Time. Probably be back way before that, actually.
So this is a convention for orange juice?
Yes. And it's funny because I don't actually like pulp in my orange juice, but I always go to this show. I've gone to it every year. So
yeah, I prefer it on my bookshelves, not in the orange juice.
Okay.
All right, let's talk early in the week.
Okay.
Figure out if we want to do the show at another time, just so we can get the finale,
Sounds good. All right.
All right. Have a great week, Jim.
You too.
Ed, Harry, who bailed because he didn't want us to spoil Secret Invasion. He hadn't caught up yet. And to everybody else who watches this later on, thank you all. It's been fun, and we will talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.